Spencer, Abigail, and I enjoyed backpacking in Glacier National Park. The views were inspiring. The scenery made us feel like we were soaring. Majestic mountains, thundering river tree lines, singing valleys, high mountain moon-like landscape that led into a dark tunnel. Emerging from the tunnel was like walking into a beautiful nature photo. The tunnel framed the landscape, and with each step, more was revealed until we emerged into the warm sunlight where the spectacular beauty of it all permeated us. Each step on the path revealed a unique experience. Some steps were a mix of excitement and caution, like the encounter with the grizzly bear family. Some steps were arduous, sweat-producing, heart-pounding, breath-stealing struggles of endurance. Some steps required dexterity as the path narrowly hugged the cliff. Some steps were grueling as we battled extreme winds, so strong that I needed at points to hold on to Abigail, and sometimes we needed to huddle together during the highest gusts. Some steps were funny, like Abigail trying to get water from a lake with large waves, or Spencer protecting our camp from the Colombian ground squirrels that surrounded us as soon as we made camp and were probing us for an opportunity to get to our food. The last day we came to a crossroad. To the left and down led to showers, a restaurant, and our vehicle. To the right and up led to a glacier and a lake filled with icebergs. We were ahead of schedule and we could get water from the lake. We had enough food for brunch, but not enough for the hike up to the lake, but we could get by without a day of food. We decided to hike up to the lake. It is one of the most talked about parts of our trip. Walking on a glacier was remarkable. The views were extraordinary, and Abigail decided to cool her feet in the lake. And if you know anything about glacial lakes, there's the silt to them, which makes everything super slippery. And Abigail slid down into that lake and wrapped all up like in a little ball, but I was able to fish her out with my trekking pole. And then on the way down, my boot sole, actually on both my boots, those boots went on all my backpacking trips with me, but the sole completely blew out, so I had to finish my trip in my camp sandals. And then the trail all was made even longer because we were detoured again around some grizzly bears. But at dusk, we finally arrived at the restaurant where they seated us in the furthest corner, I think because we smelled really bad. We ordered appetizers, 2 large pizzas, and an entire berry pie, and the waiter said, there is no way that we could ever eat that much, but we enjoyed every bite. Holy Week is an excellent time to pause and to consider the crossroads in your life. Those times when you have a decision to make. Paths are places of transition, times to pray for guidance, and faith to put one foot in front of another, and then to take yet another step, walking the spiritual path of your life. Each of us has walked a unique path today from Advent. Do you remember back then when God called us to prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight? It is one of those verses that strikes me right in the spine. On one hand, I think, wow, what an amazing image. How amazing is it that God calls me, you, human beings, to be a part of the divine story, to prepare God's way. And at the same time, I think, what on earth? Prepare the way of the Lord? How are we supposed to prepare the way for the Lord? Aren't we supposed to follow Jesus, not precede him? Given the choice, I would much rather have Jesus stepping out in front of me, leading the safari, not sending me ahead to prepare the way, hacking away at the vegetation with my own little machete. You know, I have always been a bit partial to the footprints God. You know, the one that carries us in our hard times. That works splendidly for me. And to be honest with you, I am mixed about the 23rd Psalm. I savor God as my shepherd, filling me with goodness and grace and unfailing love, giving me all I truly need, leading me beside still waters, restoring my soul, preparing me a feast, assuring me of my eternal home, and resting in the green meadows of life. Isn't that wonderful? But then there's the rest of the 23rd Psalm that's so challenging, urging us onward, inspiring us to go ahead, to take the next step. The promised feast, it is with our enemies, meaning we must forgive them and let go and love our enemies for that feast to happen. And then there are the valleys in our life, with the joint-pounding, grinding descents. That's where all the injuries happen. We journey through valley floors, dark, unfamiliar, with the shadow of death. We encounter there all that diminishes life: grief, suffering, pain, sorrow, sadness, chaos, tragedy, confusion, disease, broken relationships, death. All are encountered on the valley floor. And if that isn't enough, then we must climb. We must climb out of the valley, groaning and sweating and staggering with every step, up, 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 what seems like an ever steeper grade. You know, I think maybe Dr. Seuss put it best. When you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun, because unslumping yourself is not easily done. Sometimes unslumping yourself is only possible by the transforming, uplifting, resurrecting grace of God. Why do we need to be led through those valleys? Why can't we stay enjoying the mountaintop meadows with the refreshing stream? I certainly do not have the answers. But if I come back to this scripture and look at it literally from a shepherd's standpoint, the sheep have to move. As an agricultural expert, if you leave animals in a pasture for a long time, they eat all the food and they ruin all of the vegetation. So they have to move to new pastures. Do we need to go through valleys to learn about ourselves, God, and the power of God's resurrecting grace? And do our valley journeys enable us to grow in love, joy, and gratitude? I certainly don't like it, but I often find that I grow the most when I am challenged. Jesus carrying me, leading me, that sounds wonderful. But whenever I hear prepare the way of the Lord, I'm reminded that sometimes Jesus doesn't just lead us or carry us. Sometimes Jesus sends us ahead, calling us to journey into new places and to do unexpected things. Our scripture today, Matthew 21, is just that kind of story where that happens. It's kind of easy to miss that with the donkey and the coat and the cloaks and the hoopla and the palm branches and the shouts of Hosanna and the turmoil in the streets of Jerusalem. This is Jesus' parade, of course, and he is the center of it all, the recipient of all the attention and pomp, the king, the prophet Jesus of Nazareth in Galilee. Do you notice the disciples? Jesus sends them to a nearby village to retrieve a donkey and a colt, but not to a village that they've already been to, not a village where Jesus had just visited and the memory of him is fresh in their minds. No, Jesus says, go into the village ahead of you. Go to that place you haven't been. Go to that place I haven't taken you yet. Go to that place that's still up ahead, the road a ways. There will be a donkey and a colt there. And if anyone says anything, just tell them the Lord needs them. Now we know that the disciples did what they were told, that they let Jesus send them on ahead with these cryptic instructions. But I have to wonder, did they protest a little bit? They didn't know what they would encounter there. Were there dangers on the road? We are close to Jerusalem. Hostilities are building, and it won't be long before everything boils over. It's not hard to imagine them putting up a bit of a fight. Jesus, do we have to go up to the village ahead? Why don't we go back to the village we just left? They know us there. And you know what? I think I saw a perfectly good donkey and colt at old Eli's house. We don't know what we'll find in the village up ahead. It's unknown territory. Maybe they're hostile. Or perhaps, you know what, Jesus? Why don't you go ahead? And we'll tag along behind. You'll make a much more convincing argument than us anyway. You know, we dropped our fishing nets in order to follow you, not to go ahead of you. You see, it takes faith to follow Jesus, and we are called to do that. But it takes blind faith to go ahead of Jesus into the unknown. It takes crazy faith to walk down a road your feet have never trod before. It takes intrepid faith to look back over your shoulder and see Jesus there smiling and saying, yes, go on. I'll be right here when you get back. The humor website The Onion has a fake news piece. You hear that? Fake news? 10 million killed annually by stepping out of comfort zones. Washington. A new report published this week by the Department of Health and Human Services revealed that more than 10 million Americans are violently killed each year while attempting to break away from their regular, everyday routine and try something new. We have found that getting out of your comfort zone and facing your fears resulted in premature death nearly 78% of the time. People always ask themselves, what's the worst that can happen? Well, according to our research, anything from being bit by a poisonous snake to dying in a hot air balloon or having that hot air balloon fall on you can happen. The report found that the safest individuals were those who surrendered to their soul-crushing monotony of habit and then convinced themselves that they had things pretty good with their daily routine. Sometimes risk comes from something as ordinary as arranging transportation by a donkey. But even these small acts of risk open us. They make us vulnerable. They make us available to something new. Yes, it takes faith to follow Jesus, but it takes irrepressible faith to go ahead into risky territory. The crowds making their way into Jerusalem knew this. Look at the text. Of course, some follow Jesus, shouting the hosannas and their blesseds, but it's not the crowd in Jesus' rearview mirror following at a comfortable distance that gives us Palm Sunday and its name. It was the crowd that went ahead of Jesus. The crowd that went ahead and cut down those palm branches and put them on the road and spread their cloaks on the road. The crowd that prepared the way of the Lord. You can't do that when you're following. You've got to be out ahead. The crowds ahead of Jesus, they just couldn't help themselves. They couldn't help bursting into Jerusalem, that busy and bustling city, and sending the city into a messy uproar. He's coming, he's coming. Jesus the prophet has arrived. Blessed is the one who comes. Are there places in your lives which we are obediently following Jesus? Thank God for that obedience. But could it be, maybe, just maybe, Jesus has stopped leading for a moment and is standing with you where you are at? And maybe Jesus is pointing to that village up the road, the village where something risky resides. Who knows what you will find there? Who knows what we will find there? Abigail and Lucita enjoy pole vaulting for the North High Polars. You can watch others pole vault, and your coach can teach you all about the mechanics. However, if you're ever going to vault, you need to go ahead. You need to grip your pole, run, plant, jump, twist, and soar through the air. No one else can do it for you. And every time you want to go higher, you must go ahead. Jesus has modeled how to live joyful, abundant, full life. Jesus has modeled grace, peace, compassion, and extravagant love. Jesus has modeled resurrection from every form of death. And Jesus has taught all of this to us as well. And the Holy Spirit is coaching us. And Jesus is encouraging us, shouting, clapping, cheering, go ahead, onward. We are prompted to go ahead, onward, through the valleys, to our mountain meadows. Dating back to the Middle Ages, spiritual directors have greeted and sent people with one word: onward. Keep going. Onward. Go further. Onward. Have faith to go ahead. Onward. Just taking the next step propels us onward. We began the service with shouts of Hosanna. Perhaps onward is the best way to conclude it, as the journey leads us into unexpected places. Amen.